Well, ever wonder what a firefighter does when he's inside a burning building? Not many people have seen this type of thing close up. And when that alarm sounds, the firefighters really hop at it. Today we begin a 5-part series titled The Smoke Eaters. Reporter Bob Norman and photographer Joy Pallett lived in a firehouse for 2 weeks in putting together this special report. Here's part 1 of The Smoke Eaters.
Fire 22 Ward Street. Box 134.
This is engine number 9, West Battalion, New Haven Fire Department. Although our report is going to focus on this particular piece of fire apparatus, it's about all the engines and all the trucks in all the firehouses everywhere. And more importantly, it's about today's firefighter, who he is and what he does. A firefighter is a study of intense contrasts. If variety is the spice of life, his emotions in one working day are heavily seasoned.
The woman's downstairs on the ground floor, right? And the flames are shooting out of the windows upstairs. My babies are upstairs. My babies are, okay? Now, babies, the first thing you think of, infants.
Yeah.
Put a ladder up next window. I got in. It was such a small room, it was unbelievable. It was a bed. So the first thing you do, you feel for the bed, you can see the fire and everything. Went through the place, couldn't find anybody. Okay? You take a hell of a beating and everything else. Come to find out, the babies were out. They were downstairs. One was 27 and one was 29.
Well, sometimes they're
Okay?
the babies are dead.
From the very second the alarm sounds and the engine is on its way to a fire, from that moment, the fire is already being fought mentally. Battalion Chief Al Bizewitz explains.
As he's proceeding onto the fire, he is checking in his running book the location of the fire hydrant. He'll know before arriving at the scene whether he's going to make a reverse lay or a normal fire hydrant to fire lay.
As we found out, once you're inside a fire, it's hell.
I gotta get some more.
Suddenly, that smoke turned to fire, and we got out.
Come on, follow me. Let's go, come on. Come on, George, come on. I'll see you right.
Despite the fear, sometimes even the terror of flames and fire, there is one thing today's firefighter fears even more. That's the topic.
This week, we're showing you a series titled The Smoke Eaters, put together by reporter Bob Norman and photographer Joy Pallett. Today, we learn about that title and why firefighters are called the Smoke Eaters. Here's part 2.
Firefighters, we all know, fight fires. But photographer Joy Pallett and I found out it's smoke, not flames, which is the firefighter's biggest worry. Captain Donald McCarthy put it this way.
I mean, sometimes you'd rather take a beating right down with the heat and the flame, get in on top before you open that line at the very last minute, because the minute you open that line, you're going to cause the smoke to, it's the reaction, the normal chemical reaction. That's going to make it that much tougher to get to the seat of the fire.
So the smoke is a thing.
Smoke is what kills you.
The Scott Air Pack is one device which helps you to breathe and do your job in heavy, choking smoke.
20 minutes before it will get down and the bell will go off. Notify him he has approximately 10 minutes of air left to get out of the building. Once his bell goes off, he should notify someone that he's working with that his bell is going off and he's going to be leaving the area.
Putting black paper over the mask lets you find out exactly what it's like when that smoke gets so thick inside you can't see your hand in front of your face, and you're literally fighting a fire in the dark.
All right, now you're in this room now yourself. And now, again, you don't have a wall over here, but Myra will stand over there, and stand over there, and I'll stand here. Now you want to get yourself out. The bell is ringing. What are you going to do?
I might have to hit the floor.
Yeah, all right, you can feel anything you want. You have to find your way out. Right. Go to the wall. Okay. Now you can feel his way along that wall. Possibly feel the way out. Feel the way out wherever you go. Now we feel something different. On the door. He said, he's out. Okay. And he did it, and he was totally...
I can't tell you the feeling of having a 30-pound cylinder on your back, feeling very weighted down, confined, and not being able to see at all, and still you have to fight a fire. After a fire, it's back to the station house and time to relax with a cup of coffee and to casually relive the intense moments you've just been through.
That fire started in that closet. Ready? I think so. It was blowing on both sides. When I opened both doors, both sides of that closet was just, blowing out like furniture.
Some of today's firefighters, like Jimmy Robinson, are paramedics. They ride the fire department's emergency unit. In most cities, it's the first thing to respond to a medical emergency. But why would a firefighter trade in his hose and axe for a box of bandages and tourniquets?
Because you get a lot of, runs on this, and you have a better chance to help more people, I think, because now you're helping them medically. Plus, you're doing fire duty when you're on this thing.
We all know what arson is. Kids setting a vacant house on fire for fun, adults doing it for profit. But what kind of person would set a fire to kill somebody? We'll have that story tomorrow night on part 3 of the special series. This is Bob Norman, Action News 8.
And all this week, reporter Bob Norman and Joy Pallett present a special series about today's firefighters. It's called The Smoke Eaters, and in part 3, we learn why some people use fire as a weapon.
Although he's been there 100 times before, a firefighter never really knows what's waiting for him until he gets to a fire. It could be getting an old man out of a smoke-filled house, or putting out a fire in a mattress which somebody obviously set. The firefighter's main job is protecting the public. But how often does the public, people, say thanks? Box 22 is a citizens group in New Haven, which is sort of a fire department fan club. There are many groups like this around the state who show their appreciation to firefighters for the work they do.
Box 22, we want to welcome you to your news station, Chief.
Okay, thanks very kindly. It's too bad we didn't have Lieutenant Piccirillo in here to take it for the firefighters in the station.
Some people use fire as a weapon. Today's firefighter has seen a frightening increase in fires which are deliberately set to hurt or kill somebody. According to the owner of this house, this fire at 3:30 in the morning, when people were asleep, had been set.
I just came out the back area, and I see them come up the side of the wall here and jump down, and he ran off this way.
This lady said she had been the target, although she wouldn't tell us why. Fire destroys property and dreams. It changes your life, disrupts your living.
No, we don't have no insurance, but we have a lot of smoke damage and water damage. We just have to try to make the best of it.
The arson squad is a recent addition to most fire departments. Using sophisticated equipment, they can prove if a fire was set and how. But today's firefighter is still sickened by the thought that somebody would set a fire, knowing that people might get killed.
What kind of person sets a fire where there's people inside a house?
He's got to be sick.
Tomorrow night, a look at what firefighters do when they're not fighting fires on Part 4 of this series. This is Bob Norman, Action News 8.
What do firefighters talk about in their spare time? Reporter Bob Norman and photographer Joy Pallett spent 2 weeks living at a firehouse and got a rare glimpse of firefighters relaxing. Here's Part 4 of their special series, The Smoke Eaters.
This little demonstration gives you some idea what a firefighter has to do when the alarm sounds in the middle of the night. Oh yeah, firefighters go to sleep at night just like everybody else. But how many of us are jarred out of a pleasant dream by a sound like this? Most of us have seen firefighters at work, but what do firefighters do when they're not fighting fires? Equipment must be maintained and kept in perfect condition. It's also kept spotless. Today's firefighter never stops training. Although he's done these things hundreds of times before, just like an athlete, he must stay in top shape. His timing must be perfect. Anything less, and instead of losing a ball game, you might lose a life. Most of the firefighter's time, maybe 90%, is not spent at fires, but in the station house. And it's here you see one side of the firefighter's job that you've never seen before.
Yeah, you don't want to be the only star, right? Somewhere around Central Park West or something like that.
Yeah, see, critical.
Get a good lawyer. In the heat of emotion.
Oh, yeah, sure. You know, my client.
There you go. Two beautiful, nice little legs.
Although he often deals with life and death, and how he does his job may determine if somebody lives or dies, today's firefighter is no superhero, no god dressed in a helmet and rubber coat. He's a person, just like you and me, with the same feelings, hopes, and fears.
We put back our hopes, George and Charles, and we went in. And all of a sudden the flame come out behind us, two doorways, you know?
Yeah, right.
And even though I was scared, it was fire and smoke, I still felt, this guy is a veteran. I was only on the job 6-7 months. I still felt that he knew what he was doing, and I wasn't going to get hurt.
But when that alarm hits, the job of today's firefighter is not like yours and mine. He's risking his neck for somebody. That story tomorrow night on the 5th and final part of this series. This is Bob Norman, Action News 8.
Menaces that we all face is fire. And throughout this past week, Bob Norman and photographer Joy Pallett have been profiling the people who keep us safe from fire. And today they wrap up their 5-part series. This is the final installment of The Smoke Eaters.
Stuff down here. Sparks are flying all over. We might have to get a hook, Joe, or a nice small hook that can tear us apart.
Today's firefighter must know exactly what to do, what his specific job is when he's fighting a fire.
That gives us 25 pounds friction loss in the 1.5-inch line, okay?
It's called pre-planning, and it means simply constantly going over different situations at different fires and having a set battle plan to fight that type of fire. This particular blackboard lecture proved to be very ironic.
Pressure work here. We got a 3-story building here on Edgewood Avenue. Engine 9 is going to pull up.
Because we soon found ourselves on the way to a fire in a 3-story building on Edgewood Avenue.
I think he's going to have to lay away.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like that.
A tenant in the building needed medical treatment. A family pet was also saved.
Where'd you get him?
In the front room.
over here.
The fire was brought under control.
How was it when you got here?
Oh, the kitchen area was going pretty good.
Everybody get out?
Yeah, everybody's out.
But there was a price to be paid. In doing this series, photographer Joy Pallett and I found out today's firefighter is really two people in one. He has a sense of humor.
Why don't you go bone some chicken?
I'm running.
And a sense of dedication.
Not scared so much as apprehensive and careful. You get in some situations where you could tend to be scared, but not so much in the situation we were in tonight.
1 minute, he is completely relaxed. And the next, he is completely and intensely involved in doing his job.
Bobby, you get hurt? Look.
And there is always that question about what the next fire will bring.
Probably dread that 2 o'clock in the morning phone call from me or somebody else that Tommy's in the hospital or Joey's in the hospital or something.
You got to do that too.
Sure, you got to do that. I mean, it's not a not a very pleasant thing to do to have to say, gee, I'm going to go over and pick you up, Mrs. So-and-so, Residence in St. Raphael's Hospital. Or...
Why do some of them do it?
You basically, I came on, I wanted to be secure, and I certainly secured my future, and then you get to love the job. And it's a man's job, and it's a nice atmosphere to come in and work with men.
Today's firefighter. He deals with fear, the unknown, and many times faces the possibility of death. Maybe that's why he simply doesn't exist as a person, but is able to live every minute of his life to the fullest. This is Bob Norman, Action News.